mindful travelers, and welcome to the Friedrich Wilderness Park. Daddy, today we're going to learn about plants, animals, and what else are we going to learn about, Daddy?
We are also going to learn about geologic processes, and we're going to learn about conservation, as well as the impact that humans have had on the environment in this local area and the broader Texas region. So let's get to it, and Sarah's going to start reading for us. All right, so Friedrich Wilderness Park, let's go.
Friedrich Wilderness Park, a distinctive nature preserve, features steep hills and narrow canyons buffered from the
encroachment
of neighboring homes. The park provides sanctuary for the plants and animals that live and migrate here, as well as for visitors who explore the varied trails, take time to walk quietly and reflect on this exceptional natural place, and enjoy a quieter, less crowded world.
All right. Friedrich Wilderness Park opened to the public in 1978 as the city of San Antonio's first natural preserve. Land for the park originally consisted of two parcels. Norma Friedrich Ward bequeathed 180 acres in memory of her parents, Emily and Albert Friedrich. W.L. Matthews donated an additional 52 adjacent acres to complement her bequest. Later purchases have increased the park to just under 600 acres. That is very large. So do you know how much an acre is?
At least as big as...
So Gigi and Grandpa's house is 5 acres. So 600 acres, how many times bigger is that? It's a hard math problem. 120 times.
Wow.
I think that's right. Or is it 12? 105. Let me try and do the math. Yeah, I think it's 120 times. My math may be a bit off. I don't have paper in front of me. But it's much larger than Gigi and Grandpa's house. Okay? So this is a very big park. I'll read the next part for you. The park is characterized by Edwards Plateau. Where do we learn about Edwards Plateau? We talked about it on the way here. It's a ridge.
Oh.
Do you remember? What was it called? Crown Ridge Natural Area. We went there a couple weeks ago, remember?
Yep.
Okay, so Edwards Plateau is this entire region in central Texas, so it's massive. We don't have a map in front of us, but it's huge. Okay, so we're kind of toward the bottom end of the Edwards Plateau. And then the Edwards Plateau is atop of what water source? Do you remember? It's called Edwards something.
Edwards Aquifer.
Aquifer, there you go. Okay, Edwards Plateau vegetation with elements of the South Texas Plains and Blackland Prairie, you don't have to do that. While once a savanna, the park is currently densely populated with ash juniper trees and other woody species. Some grasses from the Blackland Prairie and shrubby, spiny species from the South Texas Plains can be found among the oaks and junipers. Typical animals include large, medium, and small-sized mammals, more than 125 species of birds, as well as reptiles, amphibians, and countless invertebrates. What are invertebrates, Sarah?
Invertebrates are types of animals without backbones, including spiders.
Exactly. Okay, so the next part is why we chose this park in the first place. So we're going to learn about some endangered species that nest in this park. So why don't you read that for us, Sarah?
I shall read this to you. Friedrich Wilderness Park is a summer nesting home to 2 endangered birds. I want to pause for a minute and talk about what endangered means.
Okay, go ahead.
So endangered means that it's very likely to become extinct, which extinct is how the dinosaurs went.
So extinct is when they disappear off the face of the earth forever, right?
Yes.
Okay, so endangered means we need to take care of them. That's why it's important. Okay, keep reading.
Golden cheek warbler and the black cap vireo. Both of these migratory species went winter in Central America and may be found in the park from March to August. A good spot to view the warblers is at the water feature below the current windmill. A windmill is reputed to have been operating at this site since about the Civil War.
Wow. So do you remember when the Civil War was? We haven't really talked about it too much. I don't think you've touched it in history yet. So the American Civil War was in the 1860s. So that was, what, 100 and... how many years ago? 160-ish years ago. Quite a long time ago. Okay, and the Civil War was... Do you remember what the Civil War was? What the fight was for?
I think that it was... I don't know if I'm thinking about one of the World Wars or the Civil War, but I think it was when Japan attacked Hawaii.
That was World War II. So the Civil War was between Americans and Americans only. So it was when the North and South separated over a dispute over slave ownership. Okay, slave ownership and states' rights, and that's what was at stake during this war. So the South believed they could choose how they wanted to run their own states, and they wanted to run their states with slavery, and the North said that's not okay. Okay, and that was when Abraham Lincoln put out the Emancipation Proclamation and declared that all slaves needed to be freed. So there was a battle, and that was called the Civil War, the American Civil War. Okay, so that's when this windmill dates back to. So that's quite a long time ago. We've gone through so much since then, including the World Wars that you mentioned. So I'm going to touch on this last part before we move to the next section. Friedrich Wilderness Park is home to many endemic plant species. So endemic is not a word you've heard yet, Sarah.
Nope.
An endemic is one that is found in a limited area and nowhere else. The park's trails can lead you through secluded nooks and to views over the surrounding areas. The Vista Loop passes by two of the largest lacy oak trees on record. The water trail can become a wonderland of cascading waterfalls after a heavy rain. So what does endemic mean?
Endemic means it is found in an area with something limited, like less water, like a desert.
So endemic is a species that is available only in one spot. That is only located in a certain area. So it's not something you would see everywhere. So like maybe bluebonnets. Bluebonnets are endemic to this region. Okay? So you won't see bluebonnets in Germany, right? You never saw those over there. Okay? All right, so before we take off on our next trek, we got to look at the things right above Sarah's head. This is what Texas is known for. So some of these dangers that we have to be on the lookout for, including the copperhead snake up there in that top picture, and you can see it. It's called the copperhead because it is copper in color and it blends in with leaves, especially oak foliage. It falls in this time, fall and autumn, right? So it blends in with those leaves. You've seen them before. Grandpa actually has one at home that he's raising. Not safe, not recommended. You don't do that. Bad grandpa. But there's also the striped-backed scorpion, which is often found in homes here in South Texas because they're scavengers. And what is scavengers here?
Scavenger is an animal. Dinosaurs did this too, I must say, because I'm a dinosaur lover. And scavenger means that it picks up leftovers. So it's not very much of a hunter. It just so let's say that you ate a chicken bone and gave it to your dog. That would be practically scavenging.
So if you don't clean your room and you have a bunch of crumbs everywhere, you might get what?
Scorpions and ants.
Yes, okay. So let's move on. Let's get little man out of the sun. All right, we're going to move over here to learn about some geologic processes. All right, why don't you start, Sarah?
So, formation of a wilderness. Ooh, this one will be fun. So, I can't really see it. So, more than 1 million years ago, an inland sea covered the central United States more than once. During the periods of inundation,
calcium carbonate from sea creatures precipitates from
The water and
erosional
erosional sediments from nearby shores join to create the limestone found in this area.
So what does that mean?
It means that a lot of mushed up sea creature shells and maybe even a couple of rock types got really pushed on and smudged around and with a lot of pressure on it to create limestone.
Yes, pressure and heat combined all these sediments to create the limestone that is very prevalent in this area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
Most is Glen Rose limestone, resembling a giant layer cake with harder layers of limestone and softer layers containing more clay and marl. The highly
Erodible
nature of the softer layers created the balcones, Spanish for balconies,
appearance of the landscape. So point out the layer cake diagram. What looks like a layer cake there?
Right
there
here.
You go, and you see you have the Edwards Aquifer down on the bottom. That's the water source. Okay, so some things we have in this area that show that erodible nature of the limestone are Natural Bridge Caverns up in New Braunfels, and then you have No Name Cave just outside of San Antonio over near Bulverde. So those are areas that the water actually seeped through and created these majestic, beautiful, what's the right word? Features. You have stalagmites, stalactites. You have these beautiful features underground, but that's because of the erodibility of limestone, because it's very porous and soft. So water would come through, seep through, and fracture it. Correct? That's what that means. Okay.
And I want to explain something from that thing Daddy just gave, stalactites and stalagmites. The difference is stalactites go up, and you can see that from the name stalactite. So it's like they're holding on tight to the ceiling.
So they come down, right? So they come down from the ceiling. So they hold tight
so
to the ceiling.
Pointy part down.
And what do stalagmites do?
Stalagmites go up.
Why? Do you know the name? Why? Because they might reach the ceiling. There you go.
That's cool.
Cool. Okay. About 13 million years ago, a period of fault activity sweeping from Uvalde through San Antonio to north of Austin came to an end. This resulted in the formation of the Balcones Fault Zone. The Edwards Aquifer, which lies south of the zone, is a vast rainwater harvester. Rainwater flows underground into the aquifer through cracks, crannies, and other recharge features called karst. We learned about karst over at Crown Ridge as well. Great and small interconnected holes are created and enlarged by slightly acidic water moving through the limestone. Most aquifers in this area are accumulations of underground water in these karst formations. The park lies above the Trinity Glen Rose Aquifer, the water source for much of the Texas Hill Country, and is one of the contributing zones of the Edwards Aquifer.
For the Edwards Aquifer.
Yes, so that's what we were talking about with the karst formations being created because of the acidity of the water and just movement of the water and erosion, correct? Okay, so let's hurry this along because I don't want to take too long. Let's go on to the next section. Come on, Sarah.
Okay. This is
Here, how about let's talk about the watershed or drainage basin. You read that portion and then we'll move on.
Where is it?
Right there above the red oak leaves.
Got it. A watershed or drainage basin is an area of land where surface water from rain and melting snow converges into a single point. The undeveloped ridge tops of Friedrich Wilderness Park create a drainage area for virtually non-polluted pollution. We will talk about that soon.
Okay.
Water to flow into streams in the aquifer. Water from the park drains into Leon Creek and empties into the Medina River, which in turn merges into the San Antonio River.
Where's the Medina River?
The Medina River.
We live in Medina County, right?
we do.
Okay, here.
Medina County is right here.
Oh, you see it on there. Yeah, you see it on the map.
I can read these tiny things.
3 eco-regions converge in Friedrich Wilderness Park. Of the Edwards Plateau species, ash juniper and plateau live oaks are dominant, while there's a diverse array of other plant species including cedar elm, Texas red oak, Texas mountain laurel, and Mexican buckeye. Little bluestream and big bluestream grasses represent the blackland prairie component of the vegetation in mesquite. Spanish dagger and catclaw are park plants that are common in the South Texas plains. Okay, so we learned some about the ecology and the flora in this region. Let's move on and learn about settlements. Okay. Oops. Sorry, Sarah.
Okay.
All right. Indigenous people. Archaeologists believe that more than 10,000 years ago, Paleo-Indian groups were attracted to this area by its abundant waters and wildlife. Locally excavated sites reveal hunting and gathering activities and quarrying for chert or flint. You gave me a piece of flint yesterday before I left to my baseball game.
Yes, I did.
A stone favored for the making of tools. At the time of European exploration, there may have been as many as 200 semi-nomadic hunter-gatherer bands, loosely termed Coahuiltecans, in an area stretching from the Edwards Plateau into northern Mexico. These people usually did not stay long in one place, but instead moved frequently to take advantage of different hunting and gathering opportunities. What does all that mean to you, Sarah?
I think that it means these were people who did not stay in one place very often, and that means that they either did not have enough of something or they just liked to move around frequently, so they didn't get too attached to one place.
Okay, so what did we learn when we were over at San Pedro Park? It was a week ago, so we learned about when the Spanish came to San Antonio and settled San Antonio, but the Native American tribe that lived here beforehand, why did they pick San Pedro Park, that area?
Because it was connected to a lot of water systems.
Water, exactly. So those were the headwaters. San Pedro Springs is the headwaters of the San Antonio River. That's where these Native American tribes tended to locate themselves because it would sustain their livelihood. They needed water to farm, they needed water to drink, correct? And that's why the Spanish, when they came and settled San Antonio, they used that same area. So San Pedro Park, which we talked about last week, is the second oldest park in the United States. Okay? And it's all because of the importance of water. Significance of water plays a huge role in life for any species of animal, including humans. Okay? So let's move on. They talk about European settlements here as well, but we're going to move over to our last section. Come on, Sarah. We're going to learn about the changing wilderness.
This one is one of my favorites to talk about.
Okay.
So I will read it.
Go ahead.
Today's Texas Hill Country landscape in biology is much changed from that seen by early Spaniards
Hey, Sarah,
and other European
move a little
settlers.
closer to the thing so I can see you. Thank you.
Some plants and animals have been lost and others are increasingly rare. This landscape, once dominated by grasslands, is now mostly woodlands. And grasslands and woodlands, I will explain the difference. So woodlands are places with a lot of trees, and grasslands are like wide open fields with a lot of weeds and grass. That's
Okay.
really easy to remember. So woodland is with trees and wood, otherwise known as trees again. And grasslands are just grass, wide open spaces with grass.
Okay.
Ta-da. Really easy to explain. So, the introduction. Should I do this one first or this one?
Read about the
This one.
Texas gray wolf.
The Texas gray wolf? Ooh, yay! I love that one. I love wolves. The Texas gray wolf was last seen in 1942. The Texas red wolf in 1970. San Marcos Gambusha fish in 1983, in the Texas hen-slow sparrow in 1983. 1983.
Okay, so these animals are now considered extinct. Buffalo no longer roam from the Texas Hill Country. Other species such as the Texas snowbell tree, golden-cheeked warbler, and black-capped vireo are endangered. So that's what we were talking about earlier. Correct, we were talking about that, how endangered species, if we don't take care of them, will eventually become extinct and no longer exist. So overgrazing and suppression of fire are leading reasons for the changing Texas Hill Country landscape. Overgrazing removed much of the native grasses. This has led... It's okay, leave him. He's fine. He's fine. This has led to extensive erosion and loss of much of our topsoil. Fire was a primary factor in forming the Texas landscape by controlling growth of trees and shrubs. Fire control and prevention have allowed a dramatic increase in woodlands and a corresponding reduction in grasslands. Climate change may be also adding new challenges to our ecosystem, and that's something we've been seeing recently.
Yes,
so the introduction of non-native species. So these are different than endemics. Remember, endemics are local, right? They're local and they're only seen in one certain area. Okay, so non-native species is a major threat to the ecosystems around the world. Imported fire ants, king ranch bluestem grass, and feral hogs are three exotic species that have greatly altered Texas ecosystems. Imported fire ants are omnivorous, feeding on almost any plant or animal material. Fire ants have a major impact on ground nesting animals, from insects to reptiles to birds to mammals. King ranch bluestem has replaced native grasses and wildflowers over much of the Texas Hill Country. Feral hogs can cause extreme disturbance on the soil profile, cause erosion, and impact water quality, lower plant diversity, and limit recruitment of broad-leaved plant species. The direct economic impact of introduced species can be high. An estimated $5 billion is spent annually on fire ant control and another $1 billion in agricultural damage. So all that means is that when they're bringing these, when settlers came and brought these non-native species here, it completely changed the environment, changed nature, because the world works as one connected unit, correct? So the trees, the soil, the grasses, everything works in a balance. But when humans came, we introduced new species, we changed the dynamic of nature, so we have adjusted, we've altered the way that balance works. So the world's constantly trying to find that balance, but we're constantly throwing it off, which means we have to be cognizant and mindful of how we act, how we behave, and how we interact with nature and the environment, no matter where we are. And that's why we talk about traveling with purpose and traveling mindfully, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to end this conversation today. I think we had a fantastic lesson. What do you think is the most important thing you learned today, Sarah?
I think that the most important thing I learned today is that protecting natural environments is very important to humans and plants and animals. And we have to do this to make sure that nobody is ever going extinct. Because I don't want anybody going extinct anymore like the dinos did. So.
Alright, I think that was great. So I had to go run and grab our little man before he ran off. So I want to thank you again for stopping by. We really love doing these lessons. If you enjoy this, please let us know and comment down below. We will post this on YouTube later today. And again, we'll do another lesson this coming Wednesday. So every Monday, Wednesday, we're planning on doing these lessons. Come join us. We'd love to see your kids come by if you're a homeschooling family, and come join the conversation. Sarah wants to talk to you and wants to have some dialogue back and forth. We can have our own travel schooling classroom right here, and that's our goal. Sarah, you'd like some pen pals, right?
Yeah.
So if any kids are out there and need someone to talk to, any homeschooler feeling a little lonely, Sarah's always accepting pen pals. So you can find all this, as I said, go search Novel Excursion Travel on YouTube, and you can come join us and be a part of the conversation on Facebook. We have a group, facebook.com/groups/Novel Excursion. Thanks again for stopping by. And Sarah, as we say at Novel Excursion,
don't forget to travel mindfully.
Bye.
Bye-bye.